busy taking care of yourself, and I just really appreciate that. So, hey, everybody. It is December 14th, and I am Annie Brock, President and CEO of the Leader Transition Institute. And I have with me today Jane Babcock, who is a former veteran service officer, and she is a VA benefit service officer, is what I should say. And she is taking time out of her busy day to talk with us about how to access benefits, to take care of ourselves while we're on the road traveling during the holiday season. Some of us don't even know how to access those in our local communities, and Jane's going to give you some tips on where to find those. But you might be traveling and be in a friend's area or in your family, a family member's area, and need to access your VA benefits. It's really important to be able to take care of yourself. So let us just dive right in. I didn't do any introductions other than that because I really just want to dive in to the topic at hand. I know Jane is like, deer in the headlights, because I normally just ramble for a few minutes, which I just did. So, Jane, welcome to our VA benefits Q&A, and thank you for sharing your time with us.
Certainly. And it's so nice to hear that people are finally getting a chance to travel. And I certainly hope they're traveling safely. You know, this is a hard time of year for not being with family. But if you are a veteran and you are enrolled in the VA healthcare system, sorry about that. First and foremost, you must do at least one physical every year to stay enrolled. 18 months after you've enrolled, and if you haven't been in for that physical, the VA is going to say, oh, well, apparently he's not using us, and they're going to put you on the inactive rolls. So that's most important. Keep your foot in the door. And when you're in the door, then you want to know that you have community care. Community care is what's going to take care of you on the outside. So if I'm here in Wisconsin, beautiful snowy weather, and I go down to Florida for any reason, one of the first things you need to know is not every VA region speaks to every VA region. So I go down there with my VA ID card, and they go, well, that's a nice card, but we don't have access to any of your medical records. So if you are traveling on a regular basis, like you're a snowbird, you want to go into that local VA, and you want to give them that opportunity to have you enrolled in their VA region. They will then be able to make access to your records so that if all of a sudden you're brought in on an ambulance, they know what's already going on with you. So please be proactive when it comes to your healthcare. The other thing, of course, is if you are enrolled in the VA healthcare system and you have an emergency, such as car accident or a slip on the ice or whatever, and you have an injury that could be potentially life-risking, like you're not going to drive an hour and a half with a broken arm, and you're not going to certainly drive if you've having chest pain. So if you're enrolled in VA, which means you've been there within the last 18 months, you are going to be able to go to your our local civilian hospital and be treated. And the billing will all go to the VA. Now, if you are a copay payer, you will pay the $50 specialist fee for the emergency room. And then if they then go and do any, send you on from there to a specialist, you may have to pay a second one or something like that. But you're not going to pay those big hospital bills. All the tests and everything else that are part of the standard treatment will be rolled into that bill. Now, some folks will say, well, how can the VA afford to do that? And part of that is that reason why you have to give your insurance information to them. If you have outside insurance, or if you are 65 and eligible for Medicare, you must take that Medicare, because then they're going to bill some of that through the Medicare system and through the VA and through your insurance. But again, you won't have any copays other than to the VA itself. And what they bill off to any insurance is going to be at a minimal charge. So.
Well, Jane, so I learned something already, because I'm not really familiar with the VA system, and because I haven't needed it. I've used the military healthcare system, but I'm going to get smart on it this year. I know I promised you I would last year, but I really mean it in 2022. So we have to pay there's a copay in the VA system.
Depends on the situation. If it's for something service related, no copay.
Okay.
If your income
There's
is
only a
low enough,
copay
no
for
copay.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Or if your VA rating is high enough, no copay. If you're at 50% or greater, no copay. Or if your income has dropped, and especially right now with everybody, so many people having lost their jobs because of COVID and things like that. Well, if your income last year was a lot lower than the previous year, go and do a new means test. You may eliminate your copays for the next year. Or if you've just retired, go do a new means test. You may eliminate your copays for the rest of your life.
That'd be
So,
exciting, wouldn't it, for somebody?
yeah. And if you qualify, if your income is low enough and you're a wartime veteran and you are either under 65 permanently disabled or over 65, you may qualify for VA pension.
What's a
So,
VA pension?
well, if you took all your household income, wrote it down on a piece of paper, and that means interest from the bank and everything else, and then subtracted off your insurance premiums, your Medicare premium, your pharmacy, your Band-Aid, your toothpaste, and all that stuff, and said, okay, now what did I actually live on last year? Oh, I was living on $1,100 a month. You may qualify for pension, depending on your health and circumstances, especially if you're married, trying to live on that. But it's a supplemental income program designed for they used to call it the widow's pension. It was meant for the widow of a veteran that
Right.
didn't come home or didn't die on the battlefield but died later on and that kind of thing. Well, they opened it up and they call it a non-service connected pension. In other words, the injuries or illnesses that are under the age of 65 that are holding you back financially aren't caused by service, or you've left the working world, which is the age of 65 is what they consider that. So the veteran is entitled to apply. The widow has no health restrictions. She could be perfectly healthy working, but now all of a sudden she's 57 years old and she's trying to live on one income, maybe with a mortgage and car payment and everything else. So she can go and see if she qualifies for supplemental income through the pension.
Interesting.
Or if she's just gone into an assisted living. That's the most common one, is when veterans and or spouses go into an assisted living, because generally speaking, that consumes the entire income, even for both of them. And so they may qualify. Now, unlike Medicaid, which starts at $2,000 in liquid assets, not counting your home and your car and stuff, but in the VA, we don't count the home, car, and all that stuff. But the VA also starts at $139,000 in liquid assets. The idea is to make those assets last longer. Not necessarily to live, if the veteran's 99 years old, there's probably not going to qualify for pension because they're going to say you have plenty of money with 139 in the bank.
Right.
But if you're 57 years old, that 139 is going to disappear real fast. So,
Interesting. So what about mental health care, behavioral health? How do we access that over the holidays? Because some of us get pretty stressed out, and sometimes I feel like just wigging out, and then I get myself back in control because I don't want somebody to cart me off. But what if I'm smart enough to access resources on my own?
there's a lot of options open to you.
And I'm sorry, I shouldn't say smart enough. What if I'm aware enough? Because smart is the wrong answer. What if I'm aware enough to access resources on my own?
Right. The knowledge is so important. So we have our vet centers, which they kind of fall under the VA, but they're not actually part of the clinics and hospitals. They are separate. They are run by veterans. They are staffed by veterans, and they have counselors, certificates. Some of them actually are psychologists. No, psychiatrists. Psychologists. One of them, the one that doesn't write prescriptions.
Psychologist.
There you go. So they actually, they'll take in any veteran, especially if especially if they're a combat veteran, but most of those veterans are combat veterans at the centers. And they have open door meetings, they have one-on-one sessions, and it's a great place for a veteran to start that's having issues with PTSD or haunted by things that may have happened in service, and they're just not ready to admit to the fact that they need maybe medication to stay in the middle of the road. So that's a great place to start. Go there, get the counseling. They're able to take notes. They're able to recommend you over to the psychiatrist who can then write your prescription and or do the official diagnosis. And the psychiatrist can look at the notes from the vet center and say, yep, service related, yep, PTSD, or it may just be depression, anxiety related to service. So that will get you started on a VA claim. But your vet center is a great starting point. You also have, of course, if you're enrolled in the VA hospital or physical facilities, then you have the behavioral health centers. Every clinic has them. And I know mine down when I was a CDSO, I could call down there at 3:30 in the afternoon and say, I've got a veteran here and he really needs to see somebody today. And my psychiatrist or psychologist, both of them, were more than willing to stay late to see him right away and to get them started the programs. We, of course, also have resident programs. So depending on what the situation is, your state may have them and or the federal VA. We had a state-run, what used to be an assisted living. They turned it into a homeless shelter with job training and all sorts of things like that, but also counselor on board all the time so that there was always somebody there to talk to. And then the federal ones, depending on the situation, do you need to maybe dry out because your PTSD monsters have got you drinking too much? Or are you having problems with drug management and things like that? So all these different resident programs, you can walk into, as a veteran, I can walk into any VA hospital through the emergency room. They will get me a counselor within just a short amount of time. And then the decision is made, do I need to be in a resident program there in the hospital? Or am I okay enough to go home and wait to get into a program? So there's no reason to worry about safety nets. And you can, as an enrolled veteran, if you are in crisis, you can go to the local emergency room. They prefer you to come, but if you are suicidal, please go to the local hospital and or call the 800-827.
I have 800-273-8255.
Yes.
I was just, you and I are on the same wavelength. I was just getting ready to put it in the chat.
Please do, because that number is not only for veterans, that's for everybody in the nation. So if you are dealing with stuff that you know that you need to have somebody to talk to, you need to verbally puke, just get some of that poison out of you. Anybody can call that number. But if you are a veteran, press 1. You're going to speak to somebody that understands what's happening or what may have happened to you in the service that's now impacting your ability to feel good.
Okay. And you can, besides calling that 800 number, you can also text 838-255. And I think it's really important that whether you, people listening to us today might not think that they need those services. I'm going to challenge everybody who listens to this recording to write down the numbers, put on in your wallet if you're that kind of person using pieces of paper and pencils, or put it in your phone, and so that you have it to share with a veteran who might need it one day.
Yes.
Because this is not a number just for ourselves.
Right. This is for anybody. So please don't think of it only as a veteran thing. Keep it in your wallet. Like you said, somebody, if you don't need it, somebody you know will need it. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention on the vet centers. They will do grief counseling sessions for the family when they lose a military member. So, we lost a few young veterans, or young military. So they did counseling for the families. And
I can't hear you,
now,
Jane. Okay, there we go.
Sorry about that. The vet centers do so much counseling for grieving families. So if a military family loses a veteran and they're, away from a military post, so um, my glasses are really badly, but they will do so many sessions of counseling with the families and the children and the spouses and things like that. So they're very good about that kind of stuff.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So, what if you're in an area of the country where there is no VA facility, no no VA resources, and you're a veteran? Do you just go, if you go to the civilian system, will they bill the VA for you?
Not ordinarily. What you have to do is get a referral from the VA. But if you are in crisis and you go to the emergency room, you're attesting in some way of wanting to, quote, leave or just get away from all this. Not, I don't want to come back, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to say, I'm going to go kill myself. And please recognize that when you hear others, especially veterans, talking about, I've had enough, I just want to go away, I just want some silence, I just want the peace, I don't want to come back and deal with this. That's a sign. You got to question them. Are you thinking that you want to commit suicide? Are you thinking that this is a permanent change you want to make? Because you don't ask and they do, you're going to hate yourself.
Right.
But yes, if you're enrolled in VA healthcare, and that's again the big thing, be enrolled. If you're enrolled in VA healthcare and you live 2 hours from a VA hospital or whatever, they're going to set you up with civilian care. If you are suicidal, go to the local emergency room and then call the VA. You have 72 hours to notify the VA that you were there. If they then have a facility open, if you go into a resident program at that hospital, they're going to transport you to the VA only if they have a bed available and if that counseling makes sense. If it's better to just, okay, you need a couple days of intense care and then you're going to go home. And so maybe we're better off leaving you where you are. So it's options, but you have to be enrolled first. Please, please, please get enrolled. Do that once a year physical. VA doctors look for healthcare issues that are specific to your time when you served and where you served. There's all sorts of registries you can get in for like Agent Orange, Middle East, all these respiratory things that are going on with our guys. Now they're looking at the numbers on cancers and stuff for these younger veterans. That's how they get those numbers. That's how they get the evidence. So please participate in those things. And that
Okay,
includes
thank
your
you so
mental
much.
health.
And it's really important for, I'm the reason why Jane and I decided to talk about this today is because holidays are stressful. They're stressful for a normal person. There we went. They're stressful for anybody. You don't have to have served in the military to be stressed over the holiday. It it just happens. But those of us who have served have some special stressors sometimes that occur during the holiday seasons, and so it's important not to ignore those. Please
Correct.
be aware of your stressors and take care of yourself.
Also check with your state, your veteran service officer. Over 30 states have county veteran service officers. So they have a person employed by their county, or if not multiple people. And this is what they do, what I used to do. Sit down, tell you all about the state and federal benefits, and then determine which ones you qualify now and what you might qualify in the future, so that when you do get to that point where you might need the pension or something, we've already got everything set up as far as your DD 214 and things like that. Now, in my state, in Wisconsin, we have, as I said, they've bought in facilities where they've converted them into homeless programs and job training programs, and they have AA meetings there and all sorts of stuff. So that's a great support system from our state. But also in our state, because of the length of time that it takes to get sometimes into the VA behavioral health, and being in rural parts of the state where there are no counseling centers, there are no psychiatrists or psychologists locally, our state will actually pay you, or pay the nearest one for you to go there while you're waiting to get to the VA behavioral health, or while you're waiting to get enrolled in VA healthcare overall, so that VA can then pick up the tab for it. So never feel like you're totally alone. There's all sorts of options.
And that's really important. That's a key thing, is we don't want anybody to feel like they're alone. There are few things worse in this world than feeling like you're alone. And so please know that you aren't. Please be willing to speak up. Don't think that the situation is so hopeless that you can't get through it. Everybody who has served in the military have been through things that are worse than anything that you're currently going through. I know that it might not seem like that at the moment when you're in the middle of it, but I promise you that you've been through worse times. Even if you only served stateside, if you've been through basic training, you've been through worse than most people in the civilian sector. If you survived through basic training, you have been through some things, and we are there as part of your family, and you need to use the resources, tap the resources that you're eligible for. It's very important.
And then there's the informal resources. A lot of states and a lot of cities and or counties have suicide prevention organizations, nonprofits, boards, things like this. Here in my area, we have a nonprofit suicide prevention group that trains on how to handle a crisis situation. So they will go along with our police officers, or they may get there before our police officers do, and how to at least try and stabilize the situation. And then be someone to say, when the officer says, okay, we're going to transport you to the hospital. Well, if you don't have anybody with you, family wise or otherwise, now you're going to go do what to me? So they'll actually go with the person to the hospital, basically just to be there as moral support and help them get through whatever it is they're going through and determine what's needed next. So you may have a local suicide prevention organization. Your church is another good place to reach out to. Any veteran organization, if you're a veteran, has someone in their post that is supposed to know where the services are, what the phone numbers are, and things like that. So never feel like you're alone. You're part of the family. You just got to reach out and let the family know.
And I will say that you don't need to be in crisis to reach out. It's very important to know that if you just need to talk to somebody, there are lots of people who are willing to listen, and before it gets to the crisis mode. That is ultimately what I would encourage people, is to not wait until you're in crisis, to reach out if you just need to talk to somebody, because we can help you access the resources that you need and that you deserve and are eligible for.
Yeah. I used to tell my lieutenant, who would shave his head before he came to drill, I used to say, "It's okay, sir. I'll hold your hair." And finally one day he looked at me, he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, it's a girl thing, but when back in the day when guys had long hair, you partied a little too hardy or you got a little too sick or something, hold your hair so it wouldn't get wet."
Yep.
So if you need to verbally puke, I'm here for you. I'll be here for you anytime you need me.
Yep, we are. So, well, thank you so much, Jane, for coming on, just to make sure that we connected with people. If there's anybody out there in the audience who has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We have put in about the VA crisis line being there and what to text. I did put in the chat about that the VA regions don't talk to each other. So if you spend regular time in a VA region other than where you live normally, it's a good idea to get enrolled in that second region. And then you have to have that. I learned that you have to have at least one physical each year in the VA healthcare system to stay enrolled. So with no wrong time to do that, but what better time is it to get on the phone and schedule it for as soon as possible in 2022. Make that one of your the things that you're going to do in 2022. If you're a veteran and you are not yet enrolled in one way, shape, or form in the VA healthcare system in your state, do it. Make plans to do that now.
And
Take
please,
time.
if you're on LinkedIn, reach out to me. Although I'm getting to that all important cap that they say. I don't know why they won't let us connect to more than 10,000, but I'm almost at that point. So I would hate for somebody who doesn't have premium to miss out on getting the tools.
And I'm pulling up your profile while you're talking, Jane. I'm pulling up your profile, so I'm going to put the link to your profile on in the chat so that people can connect with you.
One of the tricks I learned using LinkedIn, if I hit that 10,000 and they stop taking connections and you don't have premium, but you want to connect with me, go ahead and message me by going to a response that I make, a post that I put on, and let me know that you want those VA tools. I teach VA. Annie, this week I'm recording my first cable TV show for a
Awesome. Yay for
station,
you, Jane.
station out in New York. So get a hold of me and I will send you the free links and attachments that can be used to teach VA 101. It's very surface teaching because it can be very in-depth when you're talking each specific benefit, if this, then that kind of thing. So I send out the VA 101 tools, and then when you have questions, get a hold of me and I'll be more than happy to either message or talk with someone.
Jane, you are a gift to us in the veteran community, and I really appreciate you. I want to celebrate Jane. Yay for having a cable TV show, and I'm excited about that for you for the coming year. And thank you for sharing your time with us today. I want to wish everybody a happy holidays, regardless of what kind of holiday you celebrate. There are so many of them that are celebrated in the November, December timeframe. Hanukkah was very early this year, so I've moved back to December, to November to include that. We recognize and celebrate everyone. Thank you for spending this time with us today. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Most importantly, take very good care of yourself.
Please do. You're valuable to all of us, especially the ones who know you best. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. May you have the blessings of the season.
Thank you.
Bye-bye,
Thank you so
everyone.
much, Jane. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Annie.
See you soon.